Discover the incredible journey of the last Apache woman, how a lone cowboy changed everything forever. Sunny inhaled the crisp morning air, her spirit a tumultuous blend of determination and dread. At 25, she was the guardian of her deceased grandfather's ranch, set against the parched landscape of Arizona. Dreams of preserving her Apache traditions collided violently with the grim reality of unpaid bills and gossiping neighbors. The patches of green grass were mere memories now, fading like the stories her grandfather told her. She clenched her fists, fighting the desperation creeping into her mind. How could she fight for her heritage when the weight of financial despair bore down on her? Every whisper echoed doubt, and Sunny was losing hope. Am I enough to protect this land? She thought, the question gnawing at her sanity. Each dawn saw her slip further into a cycle of fear and doubt. Although she longed to preserve the customs that defined her people, the bills mounted, a menacing shadow that clouded her every waking moment. She traced the lines on her grandfather's old ledger, where faded ink displayed both crops sold and debts unpaid. The pulse of her dreams quickened, yet the sense of urgency morphed into a tight knot in her stomach. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The weight of responsibility crushed her as she stood outside, gazing at the sun rising over the arid landscape. Memories of laughter around evening fires felt like mirages. The terrain seemed to mock her aspirations. A fleeting thought emerged. Find a way to forestall the inevitable. Internal tension stirred in her mind. Perhaps there was a way to turn the tide. But the risk of failure loomed large. An unexpected urge to seek answers mingled with her fear, a dance of inner conflict she could no longer ignore. Her fingers brushed against the cool earth where hidden secrets may lie buried. As she dug deeper into the documents left behind by her grandfather, Sunny discovered something. A hidden family document pointing to a parcel of land steeped in history. The light of potential flickered in her brow, but with it came the chilling fear of deception and struggle. What if it only turned out to be another dead end? Her heart raced, leading her to ambivalence about revealing this to anyone, letting it consume her thoughts as twilight descended. Could this land save everything she held dear, or was it just another dream to shatter? The edges of her dreams seemed to blur as she stood at the precipice of the unknown. The storm clouds gathered on the horizon, echoing the turmoil within her heart. But with each beat thundering against her chest, she felt a surge of urgency. The choice loomed. Would she hold on to uncertainty, or plunge into an uncertain alliance with Jake, the neighboring rancher whose own dreams had withered like the very land beneath their feet? The tension between desire and dread clenched her tightly as betrayal from her community swirled closer. The storm crackled around her, a reflection of the tempest brewing within. Sunny's future teetered on the brink of collapse, desperate for something, anything, that could bring her back to her roots. Yet instead of answers, the air thickened with unresolved tension, leaving her heart in disarray as she stepped closer to the edge of everything. Sunny awoke with a sense of newfound resolve, the previous day's uncertainty swirling in her mind like the dust that filled the air. A glimmer of potential lay before her, yet the path toward claiming that hidden land felt infinitely daunting. What if the document she had discovered was a mere illusion, a breadcrumb leading to more hardship? Thoughts spiraled, demanding her attention. She was tired of waiting for miracles, tired of burying her hopes beneath a layer of fear. As the morning light crept through her window, illuminating the scattered remnants of her grandfather's legacy, a decision formed within her. Sunny needed to learn what truly lay ahead. The search for that land demanded a deeper understanding of its history. More than the promise of profits, it whispered of cultural heritage, something essential to her identity as a guardian of her ancestry. The realization ignited an urgency within her, rekindling a flicker of pride she had nearly extinguished. With a steely resolve, she crafted a plan. She would visit the local library, comb through historical records, and inquire about the land that perhaps was mistakenly thought lost. After a quick breakfast, she stepped out into the dry morning heat, purposefully walking toward town. The streets were quiet, while the rustling of palm trees seemed to beckon her forward. Each step carried weight, echoing the significance of her mission. The town always felt like a hesitant audience to her dreams, a place where judgment lingered like the heat, always heavy but manageable. Today, Sunny decided to reclaim that space, to step boldly into the public eye. Upon reaching the library, she felt a surge of nostalgia as she pushed open the door. The familiar scent of old paper filled her nostrils. She approached the reference desk, confronting her anxiety as she engaged the librarian, an elderly woman whose sharp eyes masked a lifetime of wisdom. With hesitation, Sunny explained her purpose, revealing the document that hinted at the existence of her family's land. The librarian's expression shifted from curiosity to surprise. That land was thought to be lost due to legal disputes decades ago. There may still be records, but it won't be easy to untangle, she warned. A knot of apprehension formed in Sunny's chest, mingling with an exhilarating sense of potential. The librarian handed her a dusty volume, and as Sunny pored over its pages, she uncovered clues to a rich history she had only glimpsed in old stories. Ancestors who lived and thrived on that very land had instilled resilience, creating a foundation of strength that pulsed through her veins. Each sentence grounded her, warping the uncertainty of the future into possibility. Hours passed in what felt like minutes, and as she flipped to an old map, a revelation jolted her. The land wasn't only an asset, it was a sacred part of her heritage, evoking pride intertwined with responsibility. Determination surged, igniting a vivid vision of her future, one where she could cultivate both the land and her traditions. Yet, as she gathered the last of her notes and prepared to leave, doubt spidered back into her thoughts. Would Jake truly be a partner, or would his ambitions clash with her own? The weight of collaboration with him began to loom ominously. Would working together lead her closer to her dreams, or shatter her aspirations altogether? That night, as she lay in bed, battling an onslaught of responses to the day's discoveries, one question repeated incessantly. Was she ready to confront Jake, to unveil a path that intertwined their fates? As the shadows in her room deepened, a newfound urgency bloomed within her. Tomorrow she would reach out, step boldly into the unknown and awaken her own potential. The moment of truth approached. Would the cowboy be an ally or an adversary in her quest to reclaim her legacy? The sun hung low in the sky as Sunny contemplated her options, her heart racing with the prospect of what lay ahead. Today wasn't just another day, it would mark the beginning of her confrontation with Jake. She dressed with a purpose, each piece of clothing a fortified armor against her uncertainty. The faded blue jeans and simple shirt felt comfortable, embodying the spirit of pragmatism she hoped to convey during their discussion. As she made her way toward Jake's ranch, familiar sights surrounded her. Weathered fences, grazing cattle, and the open expanse of land that spoke of a rough beauty. Yet, under every layer of tranquility, doubts danced in her mind. What if he dismissed her ideas outright? What if he only thought of the land as a financial venture and not the cultural treasure it represented? This unease threatened to unravel her resolve, but she pushed back. She needed to assert her vision, not just for herself, but for her lineage's legacy. Jake's ranch came into view, a patchwork of worn barns and sun-bleached fences, the embodiment of hard work and ambition. She paused at the entrance, grounding herself. She could turn back and hide away in her doubts, or she could step into this moment as the woman she had discovered herself to be over the last few days. Clenching her fists, she strode forward, her heart steadying with each step. Jake greeted her at the door with a slight grin, yet it flickered with confusion upon seeing the intensity in her eyes. "Hey, Sunny, what's up? Can we talk?" Her voice carried a weight she hadn't anticipated. "Sure, come on in." He stepped aside, and Sunny felt the coolness inside as a welcomed contrast to the heat outside. As they sat across from one another at the kitchen table, the air thickened with the unsaid. Sunny cleared her throat, the moment fragile yet electrifying. "I've been digging into the history of that land," she began, her mind racing through the notes and stories she had found. "It's not just about ownership, it's about what it represents to my family. It holds the spirit of my ancestors." Jake's expression shifted, interest peaked, but skepticism lingered. I get that it means a lot to you, but if we're going to do anything here, we need to think practically. What's the point of even pursuing it if we can't make a profit? Her heart sank for a moment, but then she steadied herself. It's not just a financial investment, it's about heritage. It's about restoring a connection that's been broken. I refuse to let it slip through our fingers again. His brow furrowed, and Sunny pressed on, powered by something greater than herself. I want us to work together, but you have to understand, it isn't just a business deal for me. If we're in this, it has to be about more than money. Can you do that? Silence hung between them, alive with possibilities and peril. Finally, he leaned back, folding his arms, and bounced her challenge back to her. What do you see this looking like then? How do we blend your vision with practicality? The discussion shifted into a dance of ideas, each thought a step toward collaboration. As they pored over maps and shared stories, a foundation began to form, not just for their partnership, but for a shared purpose. The tension waned as Jake started to grasp the depth of what Sunny was proposing, yet with each breakthrough came the burden of realization. Their visions still held vast differences. Jake, she said, her voice lowering, I need you to promise me something. This can't just be about securing the land. I want to give it back its story. Can we commit to that? He rubbed his jaw, the weight of her request settling in. For a moment, Sunny's heart raced, anxiety creeping back as she awaited his answer. He was an ambitious man, one drawn to opportunity, but could he embrace the complexity of her heritage alongside the drive for profit? As he opened his mouth to reply, her phone buzzed in her pocket, an unwelcome interruption. Her pulse quickened, but she silenced it, knowing that the choice she'd face could reshape everything. The moment hung as Jake's eyes narrowed, and she prepared herself to stand firm in her convictions. Sunny, he said slowly, uncertainty eclipsing excitement, I think we really need to talk about what this will mean for both of us. But before he could finish, another notification vibrated in her pocket, an urgent text that would change everything. The stakes had risen, and they were no longer just about the land. It was a call to confront the fears lurking in the shadows, making her question if Jake was ever the ally she envisioned. Would their journey toward reclaiming her legacy turn into an unexpected battle instead? Sunny clenched the edge of the table, her mind racing as the vibrations echoed in her pocket. She could feel the urgency pulse through her, urging her to check the message, but she knew there were bigger things at stake. With Jake's penetrating gaze still on her, she hesitated, weighing her options. Stay focused, she told herself. The discussion had veered onto rocky terrain. She could not afford to lose momentum now. Look, about what I was just saying, Jake continued, a mix of concern and curiosity painting his expression. If we're going to do this partnership justice, I need to know what you're really asking of me. Sunny took a deep breath, grounding herself, feeling a flicker of clarity break through her anxiety. I want you to see that this isn't just transactional. It's about respect and legacy, and I need you on board with that. His brow furrowed slightly. Respect and legacy are great, Sunny, but we also need to pay the bills. If we're not careful, this could turn into a money pit instead of a gold mine. Exactly, she nodded, her resolve sharpening. But think about the stories we could tell, the living history we could preserve. It could become something significant, attracting people who care about these values. He leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms with a sigh. And make a profit? You seriously think there's an audience for that? I know there is, she asserted, driven by a strength that surprised even herself. We could create workshops, historical tours, that show the culture of the Apache people. This could reconnect people to the land and its history, something the ranching world rarely does. We can attract the right kind of business with the right spirit. Jake studied her, the flicker of a challenge sparking in his eyes. That's a lot of faith in humanity you're banking on. The challenge ignited a fire in her. Exactly, faith. It's what we need to build this, and what I'm hoping you can see too. Sunny's phone buzzed again, this time more persistently. Finally, her patience crumbled. I need to check this, she said, the urgency bubbling to the surface. As she pulled out the phone, she glimpsed a name on the screen. Her mother. A jolt of anxiety shot through her. She knew her mother's resolve about digging into family history. Their relationship had always been tenuous, sliding around subjects that felt too sensitive. "Is everything okay?" Jake's voice was soft, and Sunny sensed a shift in his demeanor. She took a moment, opened the message, and read, "We need to talk. Important news about the land." Her heart sank, torn between the potential discovery of family history and the mission right in front of her. It might not be, important, but... Jake's eyebrow raised. "Sunny, do you want to take it? It could help clarify your thoughts." Sunny hesitated. How could she move forward without knowing what this meant? But could the personal weight of her family history derail the professional opportunity she'd worked so hard to carve out? "Yeah," she said finally, "I think I need to. Just give me a minute." As she stepped outside, the cool air hit her, refreshing and charged with tension. She felt like she was teetering on a precipice, the secrets of her family's past looming close. What if this call brought her face to face with truths she'd not been ready to accept? Questions whirled in her mind, the stakes sharpening. What awaited her on the other end of the line could change everything, not just about her decisions, but about her entire relationship with Jake. After all, if the past threatened to reemerge with a vengeance, how could she forge a future grounded in partnership and legacy? Taking a deep breath, she steadied herself for the call, ready to confront whatever awaited her. Would this divulge her family's once long-held secrets, or create a rift that could shatter everything she envisioned with Jake? As the phone rang, a single thought anchored her. The time had come to face the untold stories that would define not just her past, but her future. Sunny's heart raced as the call connected, her mother's familiar voice breaking through the noise of uncertainty. "Sunny," her mother began, a tinge of urgency threading through her tone. "We need to discuss the land." "What about it?" Sunny replied, striving to keep her voice steady despite the tension coiling in her stomach. There was a pause on the other end, a hesitation that filled the silence with anxiety. "It's about the history, things I didn't want to burden you with before, but they're coming to light, and I fear it might affect everything we've done." "What do you mean by affect everything?" Sunny pressed. She felt the weight of her heritage pressing down on her, demanding to be acknowledged. Grandfather had dealings that weren't just about ranching, issues surrounding the Apache rights to the land. "I've found documents that suggest a legacy we never knew," her mother explained, her tone wavering between urgency and fear. An unsettling sense of urgency gripped Sunny. "What does this mean for us?" she asked, forcing herself to think critically and not purely emotionally. She had to keep her vision intact, focus on the partnership with Jake, despite the encroaching shadows of her family's history. "It means we might have a legal standing, or it could open old wounds, feelings of betrayal and loss." "Sunny, if this information gets out, it'll change how people perceive our family and the ranch," her mother warned, her voice laced with fear. Sunny's mind raced, the prospect of retirement plans upended, years of tradition jeopardized, but with it came the chance for clarity and truth. "Then we need to manage this correctly," she replied, her determination surfacing. "I can't let this derail what I'm trying to build with Jake." "Are you sure you're ready to face this?" her mother asked, genuine concern evident in her voice. Sunny inhaled deeply, feeling the weight of her choices. She was staring down the origins of her family's legacy, every truth a potential weapon against her aspirations. "I've spent my life avoiding these conversations, but it's time I confront them," she stated firmly. "Okay, but please be careful," her mother cautioned. "Yeah, I will," Sunny replied, her voice steady. She knew the protective instinct in her mother stemmed from years of family history that was a mixture of pride and regret. As they hung up, she stood outside, the wind gusting around her, stirring deeper emotions she had kept bottled up. The cold intensified her thoughts about the upcoming partnership with Jake. Would he embrace the ancestral connections she was discovering, or would he view them as a liability? Despite her anxiety, a growing determination sparked within her. This wasn't just a chance to recover her family's history, it was an opportunity to forge a legacy she could stand behind. Feeling invigorated by her resolve, Sunny returned to the meeting area, ready to lay her cards on the table. "Jake," she began, "there's something I need to share about the direction we're taking. It's bigger than just us, and I hope it won't scare you off." He looked up, curiosity mixing with caution. This was more than just a business discussion. This was personal, raw, and full of potential repercussions. "What's going on?" he asked, noting the serious edge to her expression. Sunny straightened her posture. This was her moment of truth. "I've discovered some things about my family's history, and before we move forward, it's crucial you know." As she prepared to reveal the unexpected layers underpinning her feelings and motivations, layers that could irrevocably alter their partnership and both their futures, Sunny realized that embracing this newfound knowledge might be the very thing she needed to empower her path ahead. But would Jake still see her vision after hearing what lay beneath the surface of her past? And just as she was about to speak, the door swung open behind her, and a tall figure entered, face concealed by a wide-brimmed hat, ready to challenge every belief she'd been clinging to. Sunny took a deep breath, her pulse quickening as she turned to face the tall figure that had just intruded on her moment. The man stood in stark contrast to the intimate atmosphere of their discussion, his broad shoulders cloaked in a rugged coat. The hat, casting a shadow over his face, rendered his expression unreadable, but the air crackled with the promise of confrontation. Jake, sensing the shift in energy, took a step back, his brow furrowing. "Who are you?" His voice was firm, protective, as if he could sense the potential upheaval this stranger might bring to their conversation. The figure removed his hat slowly, revealing deep-set eyes that radiated an intensity Sunny couldn't ignore. "I'm here for the land," he stated, his voice low and gravelly, "and the history that ties your family to the Apache." Sunny's instinct screamed at her to distance herself from the unfolding drama, yet this was exactly what she had anticipated. For years, she'd skirted around her heritage, but now, faced with the embodiment of her family's tangled legacy, there was nowhere to hide. "What do you know about my family's ties?" she asked, her voice steadier than she felt. The man's arrival had stirred up a tempest within her, compelling a confrontation she had only begun to grasp. "I know enough," he replied, taking a step forward. "Your grandfather's actions have consequences, and it's time you face them before they crush everything you're trying to build." Sunny felt heat crawl up her neck, indignation mixing with fear. "I'm not here to take anything away from anyone. I'm trying to move forward." "Is that what you think you're doing?" he challenged, an eyebrow raised. "Ignoring the past won't erase it. It just paves the way for bigger problems." The relevance of his words sank in deeper than she wished to admit. Sunny had never welcomed the complexities of her family's history, often viewing them as burdens rather than insights. Each excuse she made was crumbling like clay under the weight of reality. Jake crossed his arms, glancing between them with a protective stance. "What brings you to our meeting then? You can't just barge in here." "I've come to make it clear to Sunny that this isn't personal for her," the man stated, locking his gaze onto hers. "But it's critical." Sunny could feel a storm brewing in her chest, the man's words stirring up emotions long suppressed. Her mind raced. Was he an ally? A harbinger of unwanted truths? Or something else entirely? She struggled to process how to navigate this moment without alienating Jake or allowing her past to spiral out of control. "I understand," Sunny began, her voice softened yet resolute, "but I need to handle this on my terms. Can't you see I'm trying to create something here? Something positive?" The stranger studied her, the intensity in his gaze weighing heavily. "You can create, but you also need to understand. History can either be a chain holding you back or a foundation to build upon. It's your choice." The burden of his words reverberated in her chest, stoking the fires of both her defiance and her determination. Would this be the moment she allowed her fears to drown her aspirations, or push her to reclaim her narrative? As the tension crackled, Jake stepped closer to her, his expression a blend of concern and support. "Sunny, what do you want to do?" It was a pivotal question, one that demanded clarity amidst the chaos. Sunny took a moment, the weight of the past looming heavily, but alongside it, a ripple of strength began to build. "I want to understand it all, the entire legacy. I can't run from this anymore, nor can I allow it to destroy what I'm building with you." And in that revelation, the unexpected began to crystallize, a turning point that hinted at a burgeoning strength and the desperate need to explore the truth. Now, facing both the past and the uncertainty of her future, she knew she was at a crossroads. Just then, the hat-wearing figure shifted, a knowing smirk crossing his lips. Then let's see how deep this rabbit hole really goes. Sunny felt a mixture of dread and anticipation. The journey had suddenly broadened. Would uncovering her history prove the key to her freedom, or the very thing that bound her? The silence hung between them like a tangible force, and Sunny felt the weight of expectations settle on her shoulders. She had opened a door she wasn't sure she was ready to walk through. With her heart pounding, she exchanged a quick look with Jake, who seemed increasingly uneasy, the protective instincts flaring behind his uncertain gaze. "Can you tell me what you know?" Sunny asked the stranger, her voice a blend of determination and trepidation. The decision to confront her past felt monumental, like standing on the edge of a precipice, ready to leap into the unknown. "I know about the land, the promises made, and the shattered dreams. But most importantly, I know that knowledge is power," he replied, his tone shifting from confrontational to something almost earnest. "Your family's ties to the Apache are deeper than you think. Ignoring them won't shield you from the reality that their legacy still affects your life today." Sunny clenched her fists, battling the swell of emotions that threatened to overwhelm her. The notion of power resonated, yet it felt dangerously close to wielding a weapon against her own history. How could she reclaim her narrative without becoming ensnared by it? "What's your name?" she asked, forcing herself to meet his intense gaze. It was a recognition of humanity amidst the jarring encounter. She needed to erase the shadow of the stranger and confront the man standing before her. "Travis?" he said simply, as if the name alone held some profound truth about who he was and what he represented. "Travis? Why now?" Her voice barely concealed the tremor of vulnerability. She needed clarity as much as she needed strength. "Why come to me with this?" He shrugged, a gesture that seemed to embody a lifetime of weariness. "Because you're at a pivotal point. You can choose to ignore the whispers of your lineage, or you can choose to dive deep into the complexities it holds. The land isn't just a commodity, it's a living testament to history, a history that demands acknowledgement and respect." His words twisted within her, simmering alongside the fear of uncovering painful truths she had tried to bury for too long. Sunny took a breath, drawing a thin layer of resolve around her like armor. "What do you suggest?" "Start with what was lost. Speak to the elders, uncover their stories. Whole worlds dwell within those words. Each anecdote will pull you closer to understanding. It's not just about reclaiming the land, it's about reclaiming yourself." Sunny weighed his suggestion against the backdrop of her life, the years spent running from her past, the aspirations she had nurtured in ignorance. With each moment that passed, the gravity of her choices settled beneath her skin, becoming a part of her. "And what if I don't like what I find?" "Then you change it," he answered simply, a fire igniting in his own eyes. "You have the power to redefine what that history means. But first, you must confront it. That's the only way forward." Sunny felt a swirl of determination mingling with apprehension. The path that lay ahead was uncertain, rife with the potential to unearth profound truths about herself and her family. Yet, a nascent strength sparked within her, a longing for identity and belonging that had been dormant for far too long. "Will you help me?" she asked, surprising herself with her own pleading confidence. Asking for help felt foreign yet liberating, akin to unshackling a weight she hadn't realized was there. Travis paused, a contemplative look clouding his features. "I can guide you, but you must be the one willing to explore and face the darkness. I'll be your anchor, but you're the one who must set sail." As the reality of her journey began to crystallize, Sunny recognized the pivotal role this encounter was meant to play. She was determined to reclaim her narrative, and perhaps in doing so, unearth the brighter future she envisioned. With resolve coursing through her, she glanced at Jake, who nodded imperceptibly, his unwavering support igniting her confidence. "Let's do this," she declared, the words ringing with newfound conviction. But even as she stepped forward, the thought lingered in the back of her mind. What shadows awaited in the stories she was about to uncover, and how would she reconcile them with the life she had fought to build? The next chapter loomed ahead, and with it, the challenge of confronting her family's past began to unfold. Would Sunny emerge transformed, or would the weight of those revelations threaten to redefine her in ways she couldn't yet comprehend? Sunny stood at the threshold of both her past and future, her heart fluttering as she contemplated Travis's words. This was the beginning of a path she had long avoided, a journey to expose the truths buried within her family's history. She could feel the urgency within her, like a pulse urging her forward, but beneath that was the gnawing fear of what she might uncover. As she prepared to meet the elders, her mind raced with the potential consequences of this journey. Would they accept her? Would the stories unveil a heritage laden with burdens or blessings? She felt a mixture of excitement and dread churning inside her, and an unexpected thought surfaced. What if the truth became a weight too heavy to bear? She sat down in her workshop later that evening, the familiar scent of cedar mingling with the dust of unfinished projects. This space, once a sanctuary of creative expression, now felt like a battleground. Each piece of wood and every strand of yarn whispered her inadequacies, each a reminder of the life she had constructed apart from her roots. Could reclaiming her heritage truly free her, or would it shatter the fragile identity she had built? Jake entered, his presence a grounding force amid her brewing tempest. "You ready for tomorrow?" he asked softly, tilting his head with concern. "I'm not sure. What if they don't want me? What if I'm not one of them?" The words escaped her before she could catch them, her vulnerability laid bare. "You are more than what you think you've lost, Sonny. Remember, you've been forging your own path for a long time. This isn't about fitting in. It's about understanding who you are," he said, his fingers brushing her arm reassuringly. His faith in her ignited a flicker of hope. She could redefine what it meant to connect with her ancestry, her craft, her life, all intertwined in a narrative that could be reconciled with her new quest. "Maybe connecting with them will give me direction," she mused aloud, her mind racing through the possibilities. "I could learn traditional techniques, weave their stories into my work. It wouldn't just be reclamation, it could be a fusion of past and present." Jake nodded, a smile breaking through his earlier concern. "That sounds like a perfect way to make their legacy your own. You're creative. Use that," he encouraged. As Sunny laid her tools out before her, a thought struck her. What hidden skills could emerge from this journey? The possibility of discovering techniques, stories, or even artifacts intertwined with her lineage excited her. It was a chance not just to engage with a lost heritage, but to potentially draw hidden talents into the light. Motivated, she sat down with a sketchbook, her pencil gliding across the pages as she envisioned how the stories and artistry of the Apache could influence her work. She realized she wasn't merely seeking acceptance. She was searching for a way to weave what was ancient with what was modern, crafting not just a narrative but a new identity. Yet, beneath her enthusiasm lay a persistent question, dark and looming. Would uncovering these stories truly bring her peace? Or would it fracture her more than she had ever anticipated? The stakes felt higher than her last works on display. This felt personal, the foundation of who she was. As night fell outside, she turned off the lights in her workshop, but the fire of determination raged within her. Tomorrow, she would begin the process of connecting, not only with the elders, but with herself. But deep inside, her instincts braced for conflict, both external and internal. The stories awaited her, and she could not shake the chilling anticipation of what revelations would emerge. Would stepping into this new world illuminate her path, or cast shadows she could not escape? The dawn would bring clarity, they said, but the journey ahead felt shrouded in the unknown. How far would she need to go to face the truths within? And how would they transform the woman she thought she knew? Sunny awoke to the gentle light of morning filtering through her window, illuminating the dust motes swirling through the air like whispers of past secrets. The rush of anticipation coursed through her veins as she prepared for the meeting with the elders. Today was not just about uncovering her lineage. It was about confronting the parts of herself she had long relegated to shadows. Her hands trembled slightly as she fastened her beaded necklace, an heirloom passed down through generations, feeling the weight of both history and expectation. As she stepped outside, the crisp air felt different, charged with the promise of discovery. She gazed at the road ahead, a symbol of the journey that lay before her. Each footstep was a reminder of her own resilience. The path wasn't just an exploration of the past, but a brave stride towards unveiling her true self. The elders met in a sanctuary of intricate pottery and woven artifacts, each piece telling a story of endurance and culture. She felt an immediate pull, recognizing that in every object around her lay a testament to an identity she had yet to fully embrace. Would they see the value in her pursuit? Or would she remain an outsider, forever longing for acceptance? "Welcome, Sunny," an elder named Miriam said, her voice soothing yet commanding. Sunny took a deep breath, her heart racing. "We've been waiting for someone like you to seek the stories that bind us." The words lit a spark within her, waiting for her. In that moment, she realized their expectations weren't burdensome, but rather an invitation to intertwine her own tale with that of her ancestry. Yet doubt lingered. "Will I truly belong? Can I weave my narratives into yours?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Miriam leaned closer, eyes soft but piercing. "Belonging comes from within. The stories are not just ours. They are for everyone willing to share and understand them. Your artistry can amplify our narratives, just as we hope to breathe new life into yours." Sunny absorbed every word, mentally composing notes and sketches of how she could merge traditional and contemporary styles. Could she create pieces that reflected both her journey and hers? The idea blossomed as she imagined the storytelling potential in her creations, a tapestry of experience that celebrated her roots while embracing her evolution. As discussions progressed, moments of laughter and shared memories paved the path for deeper connections. Bits of wisdom were exchanged, revealing hidden aspects of her heritage she had never known. Here, she uncovered more than stories. Sunny began to see skills woven into the fabric of her lineage that mirrored her passions: pottery, weaving, and symbolic artistry. With each revelation, layers of her own self-doubt began to peel back, revealing not just an appreciation for her ancestry, but also the liberation she had sought all her life. She realized it was time to relinquish the firm grip on her carefully constructed identity and allow herself the vulnerability to evolve. Together with the elders, she crafted a vision of what her art could be, a bridge between past and present, laden with shared narratives. Yet just as warmth enveloped her, a dark realization emerged. Staying true to herself while honoring her lineage wouldn't be without its conflicts. The stories that unfolded also carried the remnants of pain, loss, and resentment. Each narrative shared had a weight, and Sunny sensed the struggle ahead, a struggle between honoring these truths and redefining her craft. As the gathering dissolved for the day, she felt both empowered and fearful. Would she have the strength to navigate the emotional labyrinth that accompanied this new chapter? With renewed determination, she stepped out into the fading light, ready to confront the complexities of her identity. The journey ahead promised illumination and challenges in equal measure. Little did she know, hidden within those challenges lay a challenge she hadn't anticipated: the possible division amongst those who bore the burdens of the past. How would she reconcile the old with the new, especially when her evolving identity began to challenge the status quo of her lineage? Sunny stood amidst the remnants of her grandfather's ranch, a swirling mix of nostalgia and determination invigorating her spirit. She had dedicated herself to reclaiming not just her family's land, but also the heritage tied intrinsically to it. Today represented a culmination of her journey, an opportunity to introduce her vision to the community, not just as a reclamation effort, but as a celebration of the Apache culture that had been woven into her identity. The sun hung high in the sky as she set up for the gathering, the air alive with anticipation. She had spent weeks crafting pieces that fused traditional Apache artistry with her modern interpretations, a series of pottery, woven baskets, and textiles that told stories of resilience, hope, and unity. This moment was more than showcasing her art. It was a declaration of self, a bridge linking her past to the future she aimed to cultivate. As people began to arrive, Sunny felt the weight of their gazes. Each face held significance, memories from her childhood mingling with the whispers of judgment she had long feared. Yet as she greeted them with a warm smile, something shifted. The murmurs of doubt that once plagued her began to dissipate. Now she stood rooted in her newfound identity, confident, proud, and prepared to share her truth. Jake helped her set up the display, his presence a constant reassurance as he encouraged her to embrace this transformative moment. "You've worked hard for this, Sunny," he said softly, adjusting a beautifully crafted basket. "Show them what it means to merge your journeys." His understanding fueled her resolve, and with each arrangement, she wove not just artifacts of beauty, but threads of history and personal triumph into the narrative she was crafting. As the attendees gathered around, Sunny welcomed them, her voice steady. "Thank you for being here today. This isn't just a showcase of art, it's a recounting of my journey, a journey rooted in my Apache heritage and the reclamation of a land that was once lost. I invite you to not only observe, but participate in this collective story." The eyes of the crowd glistened with interest, and a moment of silence enveloped the space, replacing the currents of judgment with a palpable sense of community. Sunny began to explain the significance of each piece, how the colors represented emotions and how every weave held a story waiting to be told. As she spoke, Sunny felt the life within her work surge. She didn't merely present art, she embedded her ancestors' spirits within every creation, creating a dialogue between generations. The unease that had initially weighed her down transformed into solid confidence as she realized how she could validate both her heritage and her aspirations, intertwining them seamlessly. A local elder approached, his expression thoughtful as he admired the basket in Sunny's hands. "I haven't seen these patterns in years," he acknowledged. "You've captured their essence beautifully. Thank you for reminding us." His words served as validation, and an electric thrill coursed through her. It was one thing to create for herself, yet receiving acknowledgement from elders she revered established her competence and rightful place in this narrative. The gathering thrived with questions and discussions, the air becoming thick with excitement and interest. Participants eagerly explored the functional aspects of her creations while probing deeper into the stories behind them. From weaving techniques to spiritual significance, these moments of engagement marked her transformation. She had not only conquered her own fears, but had also ignited appreciation for her culture within others. As the day began to wane, Sunny watched the interactions around her, a sense of fulfillment swelling within her heart. She had stepped beyond the shackles of her past and emerged into a space of recognition and empowerment. She was no longer a neglected guardian of a fading legacy. She was a vibrant curator of history and future possibilities. In that instant, she felt a longing for her grandfather, wishing he could witness the meaningful connections blossoming around her. It wasn't simply about saving the ranch, it was about safeguarding the stories that had once thought to be silenced. Later, Jake pulled her aside as the crowd began to disperse, his expression awash with pride. "You did it, Sunny. You reached them. You changed hearts today." He smiled broadly, and for the first time, Sunny felt the weight of expectations lift from her shoulders. As they stood together, she beamed with a satisfaction that resonated throughout her entire being. "I'm not just reclaiming the land and our stories," she said. "I'm creating a new legacy, for me, for them, and for generations to come." Sunny glanced at the horizon, promising untold stories and uncharted territories ahead, the sun setting in brilliant hues of orange and pink. With each step she would take from this day forward, she carried a profound acknowledgement of her identity, fortified by the embracing warmth of her community. This was not an end, but rather the commencement of an enriched journey, and she vowed to honor her ancestry while crafting a future that shone brightly in the legacy of authentic understanding and connection. Now is the time to embrace your journey and support the stories that matter. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep these powerful narratives flowing. We want to hear from you. Comment your reactions and theories about this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring conclusion. You need to stand with the true fans of personal overcoming stories.